getting done. He was making stuff happen. He wasn't just sitting behind a desk. He actually got out, walked that property, and saw the needs of the residents of that site. The site is deteriorating as we speak, very much so.
And it has been for about the last 10, 15
But,
years
but,
that I've been.
but, Ms. Brown,
Yes, sir.
you know the conversation I had with
Yes,
you.
I do, and we've been very patient.
And I told you
Yes, you have.
that everything was dependent upon what? Funding.
Yes. but how long-
If there's no funding, there's no fix-up, okay? If there's no funding, there's no rehab, okay? And a lot of this has to do with the developer having those conversations not only with us, because it is our property,
Okay,
and we control the development that goes on with that property.
correct.
And that we're talking with the developer, that there are some certain stipulations that we want for our residents
Okay.
to enjoy. That's part of the negotiation as well as the financing.
At some point during this meeting, Gorman will be making a presentation. So you will have the benefit of hearing some of the concerns from the developer at that time, and getting some of the updates that we as the board will receive as part of their presentation in this meeting.
So my burning question is,
Mhm.
this is going to take place, would you say March of next year?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, in the first quarter of next year.
First quarter. Could be as early as the 1st of February. But it is a process that they don't always have control over. HUD sends documents back and
Right,
forth.
right.
It is a process. You know, we went through this for 18 months with the towers.
Towers,
And certainly
yep.
it was not to the extreme that we're taking, 18 months prior to us even getting into it. It took 15 months to actually do the rehab, but it took us 18 months to get to
Just
the
to get
point
there.
to where it got started. So, and that's not to minimize the concerns of the residents over there. Yes, we agreed, long before we were talking about RED, there were some things that needed to be taken care of at Sunset. And we hear you, and certainly we will be sharing that with the developers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad, I just don't want Sunset to be left behind. I really want us to be.
It won't. Trust me.
I'm sorry if I came off kind of harsh, I apologize.
No,
but
No, you
I've
didn't.
been
We
out
just
there
trying
for
to get
13
you them
years,
concerns.
I see the need. I've seen a lot of stuff come and a lot of stuff go. And when I say we're ready, we're ready. We're ready.
But you know, dealing with government and dealing with bureaucracy, nothing moves swiftly.
We're,
Nothing moves swiftly. But I can tell you this,
yes.
whether it's RAD or anything else, Sunset will be redeveloped. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Like you said, it's well overdue.
Yeah.
That's the last kid on the block. He's been treated like a step kid, and I don't mind saying
That's
that.
not the last kid there on the street.
So that's y'all, okay?
Okay, but
That's your,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
in the meantime, your council needs to meet. Your
Yes, we
council,
do. Yes, we do.
y'all have met.
No.
Okay, you need to
Yes,
meet.
yes.
You need to have your stuff in order, like the chairperson
How you
said.
Okay, well,
concerned,
if
man?
if we get that manager, we can all,
let me
Get
tell you,
on board.
wait a minute. Let me tell you about
Yeah, right.
24,
Your manager
let me tell you
has
about
nothing to do
24 CFR 964, okay? Yeah, and in that copy, it says that you don't need management to meet.
all right.
This is
You can kick management out, okay, of your meeting. Your meeting is your meeting.
This is you.
To discuss anything you
control.
never need to do. That's your meeting. And you have the law there to stand behind you. Manager, we don't want you in here,
Yeah,
okay? Assistant property manager, we don't want you in here.
Oh, that's-
And they have to honor that.
yeah. But it's on you now, on them, okay?
Thank you. I can handle it, sir. Thank you.
All right.
All right, now, moving on down the line. Trying to make sure it wasn't stuck. Mr. Dukes?
Okay, go on.
Come on, Mr.
You ready for the ride?
He got the notes with him too. Yes, sir.
Oh,
Hey,
you
good
ready to
evening,
roll.
everyone.
Good.
Yes, I
Morning.
keep my notes
All right.
with me.
Yes, sir.
And I see we've all made it through COVID, and I know I've only got 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So let me make a comment to things that were said.
Right?
This is a summation of my meeting when I open up. This is what I've been told. Rent is due on the 1st and the 5th. At one point in time, Paris Towers used to take cash. We don't do that anymore. So the thing was, you're gonna get you a money order. You don't need to write a receipt behind a money order. The stub is your receipt. They come up with another idea, your debit card. You don't need a receipt for a debit card, and the manager is not responsible for it. It's yours to go and check. Because in the amount of this was paid out for such and such and such and such. Now, this 14-day notice, those are for people that have become delinquent on their rent. Now, they're consistently late on their rent. It's not the management fault. Now, she's coaching me and taught me. I have a good staff there. Mrs. Wise is excellent staff. She stays here to 9:30, 45, or 10 o'clock. I have to tell her, you got to get up out of here, sister. I do. Now, she's dedicated. At a late hour, I'll call her. You know how she answers her phone? Paris Towers. Now, this is a person that's sleeping or something like that. So don't tell me about the rent. If you're going around my back on my board, I'll get to you in a minute, Commissioner DeVoe. Then you're not doing your paperwork right. I heard you say, and I listened to it. Have a trail. Document it. If residents gonna come and talk to one individual, they got to come through me, else they better sign up and say, I wanna be president. That's not the way that it goes, am I correct?
Correct.
That's not the way it goes. Now, I was told to be on my best behavior, but since I have a defibrillator, I'm not on my best behavior. Yeah,
Get upset.
they told me to watch that.
I was about to back up.
But listen to me.
Yeah, we hear you.
I have a very good staff around me. Mrs. Wise she's put together an excellent staff. I love each and every one of them there, and she doesn't hold back any punches. Don't do any damage to her. Don't talk anything behind her back, because you know what? I love her to death, and I'm gonna come to her rescue. She said, don't do that. I love Josh Porpry. Hey, this is a European that I just got to know, but he's an honorable man. And I listen to him. Guess what? He'll come to my meetings. If I set up an appointed time, he's there. He listens. And my board members here. Now, we're struggling as a board. I heard you say about you need a vice president. I got one. Have president, yours truly. And have a chaplain. Now, my secretary, I'm not supposed to mention her name. She's a little bitty rag. So when I talk to her about things of Paris Towers, she wants to tell the residents need to know why Kroger's closing. I don't care if Kroger's is closing. Go get your groceries from a shelter. I want to know and care about the things that are happening at Paris Towers. Those things that are prevalent. I want to know about the things that, since the fire department stopped coming, the police department's coming. I was told not to mention the filth of the alphabet, but we have those people there too. Instead of the fire department, they're fighting. It's in the area where kids are. That's not good. So you know what? I am kind of unempathy about it. If they come from under a bridge, or from an abandoned house, or from off the streets, or maybe their own folks drop them out there because they're sick of them. They need to get back out there. Because on the streets is what we got in Paris Towers, and it's chaos. You hear me? Now, I wasn't supposed to say that, but hey, you know what? With my board struggling, we're going to maintain. We at one point in time had a board from each and every tower. I don't want that, because Paris Towers ought to be an epitome. Hey, we're the ones that should set the example. I've been told that. But you know what? Why don't you just resign, quit? Well, God didn't tell me, but I was instructed. That's my chaplain. If he told you, why didn't he tell me? Because I want to know. I wake up every day from what Ms. Wise has told me. I think about it before I go to bed. I got 2, 3 of these. I'm gonna write down what it is, I commit to memory. But here's the deal. You told me something and I had to listen to it again this morning. Because you sit in the seat of authority, it doesn't make you that person.
You're a leader.
It doesn't make you a leader. Now, I've struggled with that, and she's cultured me that way. I mean, I have empathy for people, but sometimes you say, you know what, you need to go and apologize to that person. I feel it, because you know what? I've been done that way so long, but you know what? I'm tired of these people that are uneducated. We need to get some education for them. If you're gonna come to my meeting and talk that nonsense, you're gonna have to, like you have to bring yourself in check.
Yeah.
Because I am the president. I'm your floor captain, 9th floor. I'm your spokesperson. I'm your liaison. And yes, I am the president. And I make it known. But you don't have to call me that. But people are now coming to me, hey, Mr. President. They'll come to me and I'll make an announcement. They want to know. But there's some of those selfish people that I've seen in my life. And they need to have some education. The young folks still need to have a mandatory, hey, if you're gonna come up here, they need to be known. Like Ms. Wise tell me, rent, that's the first and the fifth. You shouldn't have to have a receipt if you buy a money order. Tell your stuff off, and some of them don't even know how to fill it up. Management fills it out, and here's your stuff. Get your debit card where it can get taken out monthly. I mean, come on now. Because we don't do the cash thing.
Well, those issues have actually been presented in the past, okay?
Why are they still being readdressed then?
Because
of residents coming?
Now, because Gorman manages and runs it the day to day. MHA still owns the dirt under the building, but we don't run the day to day.
Okay,
A new set of problems came in, which was never thought about, when those towers were converted to RAD. And that problem, kids in the building.
yes.
When it was originally all an adult population, HUD didn't think that through. They left that up to the local authorities, okay? It's a problem.
Why can't you make an addendum to it? Because right now, this is.
Because we didn't create it. HUD created it. Congress created it,
And,
okay?
and I want you to understand something, and I'm gonna say this, and I want you to take it in the spirit that I'm gonna give it in. Your right stops where somebody else's begins. We are not cookie cutters. Every resident in that building is not gonna be a Mr. Dukes, okay?
Right.
Residents will do their part to get to where Mr. Dukes is, okay? We all start somewhere and it ain't always the same place, okay?
Right, I understand.
And you have to, especially one of the great hallmarks of great leadership is understanding and accepting people where they are. You don't kill people because of where they are. Just like you had to get some better understanding,
Yes.
you're in a position to help other people get a better understanding, okay? And it's all about how you do it, okay? They always taught me you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
I don't
And
know.
I understand,
Yeah.
it's a drain working with folks.
It is.
But I will also say this to you. When we get into these leases, no individual has the right to keep another individual from enjoying their unit.
Yes.
When you step across that line, you put yourself into a situation of getting dealt with, okay? Everybody has an opportunity, and it may not be the way Mr. Dukes thinks that they need to enjoy their unit. As long as they're not breaking the rules of the building, Mr. Dukes, that is not a homeowners association where they signed up, but they do have to follow the rules of the lease, okay? And and sometimes when we get into these positions, we get tunnel vision. The only thing is what we see is what we want to see and how we want it to take place.
That's called blinders. You have blinders
I
on.
get it, and that's why I'm saying, we have to meet the residents because they pay their rent, and with their rent comes their rights. And as long as they are not violating
Yes.
their lease, and we in our organizing does not interfere with their rights to enjoy their unit, We in good shape, but, you know, there are some things that are governed by fair housing as well, that you nor I
Have
can
any
change,
control over.
because it is a fair housing issue. You will get us, you, and everybody else sued to death.
I've heard that.
No, that's a reality.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
That's a reality.
okay, well, listen here.
And you're right, when we're talking about issues of housing,
Yes,
people need to be educated, especially those of us who choose to lead.
and they're not getting it. Now, listen, my attendance at my meeting is strong. They're elderly, they're seasoned. Those are the people that make a change. You know, we had 2 police officers with the concept that they're gonna come back in December. Now, my position with the police is not always favorable because their reputation has been dented. But they spoke, and I said, and I opened up with them to what, before the meeting, on what you need to bring these people out to do. They're actually afraid. Now, I got 3. I heard you say you have to need 4. We got 3, Commissioner Lowe. I have a chaplain, president, vice president, and Janet, she's the secretary, that completes our form. But when you got somebody erratic and you got to sit up and listen to it like that, my patience is short-lived, really, I'm trying to tell you.
That's why you have a parliamentarian or a
somebody,
sergeant at
or
arms
you have
to
somebody-
control your
somebody.
meeting.
I got some people out there that are seasoned representatives, but I'm gonna tell you, my older residents are afraid because of that 18 and younger people that come in there. They are afraid, and we won't talk about that, about the other activities that go on in the building. We've even had a stabbing or so. But hey, listen, I'm one person. Why don't you resign? They say I'm the most hated man in the building right now. They say I'm a snitch. But you know what? Nobody's come to my face and said, I am, and I tell them, I am your spokesperson, I am your liaison, I'm the president, and I'm the 9th pro captain. There's no need for each and every individual there, because they got some good ideas, but they are afraid to come forward.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Dukes. When I was working at the City of Little Rock as a facilitator, I would ride around my neighborhood at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, okay? Not because I was trying to be a policeman, but I was trying to ensure that my mother and father enjoyed their retirement in peace, okay? So whatever element was out there, you're not coming around 3020 for Ringo, okay? And we at this table do this because we heart it, meaning we're not doing it for the pay.
Yeah, that's another
It's
thing.
doing it because we love to do it and we care about people. So what I'm saying to you is, no matter what comes up against you, because the same forces have come up against me, knuckleheads, I'm gonna shoot you and all, don't pay that no mind. Do what you know is right.
Amen.
And everything
That's
else
the
take care of
thing,
itself.
Follow itself, yeah. And if they're not talking about you, you're not doing nothing.
Thank you.
And not they talking about me, I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing.
That's what
I
I'm
have
saying.
empathy for the people.
Yeah.
I talk to the management. Everybody's not gonna talk to them. We have a dialogue. I have one even with Josh. People are listening to me. The police is gonna come back. Change takes time.
Oh, it's gonna change, trust me.
I would hope that it does, but change takes time. I just wanted to be shown to the older residents and to all of them that the shenanigans that you're doing is not gonna work.
That's
It's
right.
not gonna continue to
Well,
be
That's right.
as it is.
Well,
I
I tell-
want my
I-
residents and they, hey, I'm telling you, I have 36, 46 people that come to my meeting. I thank them every time and appreciate it. Somebody has got some ideas, someone that want to step up, but they're scared. You get so,
Well, I tell you what, Mr. Dukes, they just said they can call me, okay? They can call me.
all right,
All right,
all right.
makes sense.
I'm good. I think because I went way over my 3 minutes.
You're all right.
We expect that all the time.
Yeah, we knew it was coming.
We said additional 2 minutes.
We need to get together and talk, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
Cause,
residents might come to you, but come to me, reach out, because you were given a mandate. We were supposed to hook up something so we can see. Now, if you can't do it, I'll reach out.
Yeah, that's all you got, that's all you gotta do. You
I'll
got
reach
4
out.
of the resources,
Yeah.
5 of the resources at this table.
And I don't mind
So-
reaching out to them.
you, sir.
like I said, if you have a problem, then call me. Because see, one of your residents, when I first came on this board, I almost put him on a beat down, okay? Stacy know who I'm
Yes,
talking
sir.
about.
Yes, sir.
I almost put him on a beat
Yeah.
down because you're not gonna abuse women and children.
Yeah.
Not on my watch, you not.
Yeah, yeah. I'm against that too, and some of that's going, but we'll get a chance to talk. But listen, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna get up out of here. I got a resident, he's a chaplain, and I respect him. But if God tells you something, why didn't he tell me? I don't use God as a crutch. Let's get it straight now. And hey, they say, well, he's doing all that and he's associate pastor. Yes, I am.
Don't worry about that.
I
Because see,
don't,
what
but
what-
they use
what-
that
what-
too to try to cripple me.
what was meant for you is
It's meant for
you.
me.
Everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I
And
wanna
we-
thank
and
you
we
for
know
your
about it.
time.
Well, we appreciate you, Mr.
Yeah, I
Duke.
know you got scared, you thought that.
No, Mr. Dukes, fear ain't nothing I live with.
Oh, boy.
We need to talk this.
All right, Mr.
Thank
J,
you.
I got you, I got you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Is this Southall, Asoko?
Somebody's time.
Asoko?
Mr. Willie, Southall? Might not be pronouncing it right. Okay,
That's like
okay.
Southall, okay. Mr. Southall,
Ladies and
could you
gentlemen,
give me your
Good
address,
morning.
Mr.
How
Southall?
y'all doing? Yes, ma'am. It's 2812 South Summit, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206.
Good.
Okay, Mr. Southall.
I did have quite a few things that I was wanting to address to the board, but it would seem to be pretty redundant because I heard my president pretty much address any concern and every concern that I did have with Sunset Terrace. So I guess I'll be up under my 3-minute time limit. And thank you all for your time.
Straight to the point.
Yeah. All right, that ends that. Ms. Benedicto.
Yes, Chairman Lowe. All right, here. So, under the Director's Report, we've got the Housing Choice Voucher first. I'm gonna ask Ms. Johnson if she'll come forward with that report.
Good morning, Board. How are
Good
you?
morning.
You have before you today 3 resolutions. 2 are annual resolutions for the payment standards as well as the utility allowances. And you also have an update to our administrative plan to include the policies around our emergency housing vouchers.
Okay, just a second for the
Well, Director
resolution.
Benedicto?
But I was thinking you were gonna go over the numbers,
Mhm.
first,
Yeah,
Connie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
But I mean,
Okay.
the introduction of the resolution is still in order.
Yes.
It's part of your, it's part
Yes.
of your report.
Mhm.
fine.
So we're okay?
Yes, you're
Yes.
good,
Okay.
you're good, yes.
So you just want me to go over the numbers here?
Please.
Or
If
we're
you
all
wanna go
set?
over the numbers, and I think we'll work our way to the resolutions.
Okay, okay, that's fine. On our 2022 payment standard, I am resolving to increase the efficiency payment standards to 777. I am, based on HUD's guidelines. I am resolving to decrease the 1-bedroom vouchers to $800, 2-bedroom vouchers to $916, 3-bedroom vouchers to $1230, and 4-bedroom vouchers to $1463. All of these are 110% of the fair market rent set by HUD.
Just want the audience to realize, these are the payments that are made to the landlord.
Correct.
Whatever the difference is, resident, you're left to pay. So just to get that understanding, this is what Uncle Sam is gonna pay your landlord.
And the tenant knows this. Yeah,
Well, they know it
tenants
now.
is aware.
Say they know now.
I mean,
Know it now.
yeah.
Yes, this will
They've
go into
already-
effect, once signed by the board,
You
it'll go
review-
into effect January 1.
January 1.
Director Johnson, is there any improvement on landlord, property availability?
We're still working to market the program, speaking with a variety of landlords as well as investors. So I do have scheduled some meetings with some investors to go over what our numbers are. And as a matter of fact, I had to delay a meeting because these weren't signed yet. So I couldn't speak accurately about what our payment standards were and what she could charge for rent. But after the resolutions are signed, then I'll continue forward with the meetings so that she'll know the amounts that she could charge for her units.
Investors are people who are interested in participating in this program.
Well, they're interested in developing in the Little Rock area, providing affordable housing
Right.
for low-income individuals.
Right.
And so we're working together, or at least trying to work together, so that some of our clients could benefit from the new bills that they are building.
Because we keep getting reporting that affordable housing stock is exhausted.
Absolutely.
That it is non-existent in the Little Rock area. So that's why I'm concerned that even as our folk are on the street with vouchers, that they're not having luck
Struggle.
with finding suitable, healthy standards of housing.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, we ask these questions so that we can be more astute moving forward in the community as an ambassador to encourage people who own property to make those available.
Correct.
Are these actual investors or landlords?
Investors.
Investors meaning, who are they gonna put money into?
When you say who are they going to put money into, I don't understand that
When I
question.
think of an investor, they put money into certain projects,
Yeah.
certain individuals, certain banks
Buildings
to
or-
reap a benefit.
Yeah.
So
Well,
who
right
who
now
are they
the-
gonna invest in?
Right now, the individual that I'm
Oh.
speaking with,
Okay.
she's putting money into building units in the Little Rock area for low-income individuals.
Okay.
So apparently she has a group of investors who have come together, pulled money together to say, hey, listen, I want to take an area of Little Rock, redevelop it for our low-income individuals, and rent it out that population.
Rent it out to public housing, Section 8, because we can't target Section 8.
Absolutely. And I did tell her that, as with all of my landlords. I cannot target with any landlord. The most that we can do is provide your information on our landlord's listing. If someone is interested in your unit, they'll reach out to you. But I
There's
cannot
only
send
a
it
set of
directly to
vouchers
him.
that are targeted.
I'm
meaning
sorry?
There's only one set of vouchers that are targeted, those emergency vouchers.
Oh, when you say target, yes.
Meaning we can help them find a place. We
Absolutely.
can give them deposits. We can do make-ready services. Those are the only vouchers that we can do that with.
Absolutely.
Let me ask a question. But, so it's up to the prospective tenant to find their,
Except those emergency vouchers.
oh, okay.
Well, but
Okay,
let me put an
wait,
asterisk on
wait.
that though.
Say what?
When you say accept emergency vouchers.
Yeah.
We can only show them the units.
Right,
We
that's
can
what
only
I'm
help
talking
them
about.
get there.
Right.
It's on them whether they want to accept that
Accept
unit
it.
or not.
Right.
So, yeah.
But see, we can't do that with a regular Section 8
Absolutely.
voucher.
We can just give them a listing.
And the investors are, how do they hook up? How do these people that are going to, I'm just trying to understand, that you're talking about are interested in building a facility, an apartment complex, I'm just, that. And so they would our prospective tenant would just be, it'd be up to them to find that apartment or
Correct.
whatever. We wouldn't target them to,
No, we will place them on our
just
listing.
to work with that investor to fill it up or whatever.
Correct.
All right.
And Director Johnson, thank you for the foresight to realize that a lot of new housing opportunities for our tenants is going to come by us meeting people as they come through the door in Little Rock to educate them about our programs,
Yes.
what they pay, and how we operate within those programs. Because anybody that's building anything right now is looking for how am I going to replenish my funding in this project. And certainly, we can appreciate that this is really a great opportunity for those people who are beginning to develop and to build, to be at the table with us.
It also allows me to address some myths about the program, because, you know, sometimes the Section 8 program gets a black eye. So this allows me to, you know, debunk some myths and just talk to them really about the program, and they're not hearing information from, you know, the next person who has no idea about the Section 8 program.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, did you want to share about the utility allowances
Okay.
as well?
Again, the utility allowances are updated annually as required by HUD. I won't go over each sheet because there's a number of them. But again, we do an analysis each year. Based on that analysis, they send the information back. We update our systems accordingly and move forward.
Chairman, Monique placed at the table this utility allowance schedule for board members to have.
She put it in the back. Is this contract done through us or done through HUD, or what's the mechanism?
We have a third-party company who goes out and surveys the,
Has this been done?
Is this every year?
every year.
Mhm.
We're required to do it
So they're
every
not,
year.
it's not a contract then?
Well, we may be contracting with a third-party vendor, yes. Now, what's the terms on the current contract? Unfortunately, I can't give you that information.
Okay. All right.
Ms. Johnson, you spoke to another resolution at the last meeting that you wanted to reintroduce with the attachment.
Correct. That was, I brought this resolution on our last board meeting. It was an update to our administrative plan to include our new EHV program. Just goes over what the policies are, what MHS, stop commenting. MHA's policies are regarding the EHV program. And it's required by HUD for us to be in there, so when we're audited, they want to make sure that we are running our program according to our policies and procedures. And we did not have that EHV policy in there, again, because it's a new program, but now that everything has been put in place, we want to update our administrative plan to include the EHV program.
Just a caveat to my colleagues. Even with the advent of the policy, we still have to put out for public review the administrative plan,
Well, how long does that?
30 days. So my suggestion would be that when the resolution come up, we go ahead and adopt a 30-day review, since it has been amended here and now, and put it out there for public review. Just a suggestion. Hey, Ms. Johnson, we appreciate it.
All right. Chairman, are you ready for finance?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Dawson?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, is it afternoon?
Pull up a
Oh,
chair.
no, it might be afternoon. I think
Come
so.
on, pull up a chair.
Yeah, you gonna- you
need to sit down.
Pull up a chair.
Well, as far as the financials for October, nothing much really changed from last month. Public housing is actually a little higher in revenue than expected, than what we budgeted for. And their expenses are lower than what we expected, so that's good. HTV and CLCC, they're both below projected revenue. And we know CLCC is because we budgeted for, developer fees that we didn't receive. And, HCV is usually like a reconciliation of what they've been doing from month to month. So it depends on what kind of vouchers we have out there. And, their expenses are below, so that's good. So they're not spending as much as we had projected
Let me ask-
budget-wise.
Let me ask one question of Ms. Johnson pertaining to those vouchers. Are all of our emergency vouchers active?
Yes, they've all been spoken for. They are current, we have about maybe 10 who has been leased up. Everyone else is out looking.
Okay.
Okay. And they're running into the landlord problem?
Absolutely.
So we're not seeing the impact of those extra
Yeah,
vouchers?
because,
Not yet.
right, because they're not really under contract right now. And I also made a couple of notes. Erica submitted the subsidy application last week. We have to apply for subsidy every year to even receive it throughout the following year. So we got that taken care of, so we should be good next
Now,
year.
let me ask you a point of forecasting. Even though Sunset will be on board for probably the majority of the year, or the whole year 22, that reduction in application on the ACC won't happen until the 2023.
That's right.
Okay, then that's a discussion that we need to have, since we won't have any more public housing units, as to whether to take any public housing funds. Yeah, that's a discussion we need to have.
And how to,
Well, we're not, if we don't have any more public housing
Okay.
units, and HUD does it, and we don't send an application in, I've seen some instances where that money was sent anyway in their contract. So what I'm saying is, we need to have that discussion, and, okay, HUD, we ain't got no public housing, don't send us that subsidy.
Okay, well, what happens to Elm Street? Because Elm Street is still a source.
Elm Street, and Tam, you correct me if I'm wrong, is done through the ACC.
It's done through HCV. We have to apply
Right,
for a
right,
grant.
right, coming from our annual contribution contract. Yeah, that's what I mean, it comes through, the funding comes through ACC.
Okay, but if we develop public housing, or.
Well, then we'd have to make that
Yeah,
declaration
so,
back
yeah,
to
so,
HUD.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
so-
is that up in
Well,
the air, developing
Well,
public housing?
developing,
Well,
period.
something.
It's an issue,
Yeah,
it's an issue.
something.
we talked
Yeah,
about that.
development,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's an
something we,
issue.
that hatch,
Yeah.
we should be doing.
Yeah, I know
anyway.
developing, when you say public housing,
Well,
that's
that's-
subsidy that we could, is that what you meaning?
Well, we'd have to
Or-
reapply, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken,
Okay.
that since
Yeah.
we didn't take none, but now we've got these units that we wanna declare, you've given us a signal of how many public housing units we can have, okay? If they've all gone to RAD, that allocation is still there. So if we reinstitute it, okay, then we would have to reapply for that subsidy, even though we don't have any public housing, though we build those units.
The-
See what I'm talking about?
Because the issue is that the board should have that discussion and be well into something before the subsidy actually runs out.
Development,
Uh,
or something.
As a part, there should be something in the pipeline prior to the loss of those subsidies.
Lee,
Yes,
over me.
He got it, he got the
I got you.
state,
You got it.
water broke.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
everything else is, like I said, is pretty much, I know we're still in construction with the budget. And we really close to budgeting, balancing the CLCC, budget
and the agency as a whole.
as a whole.
As a whole. And again, it is realizing there has been such a dynamic that was instituted within the agency that has departments feel as if they have autonomy and it is all MHA. And that's what we're getting to as we really look at the budget, is there's no autonomy in here. That, yes, we have special departments that do special things, but it all comes under the heading of MHA. So we're working through those dynamics.
And we're still, so we won't have the actual budget
Until
approved until December, and I have you a couple of resolutions and everything for that.
And our meeting in December is like December 16th. So we will still be ahead of the 12/31
Oh, yeah.
deadline
Yeah, most definitely.
to have a
Have it
balanced
approved.
budget passed.
Yeah, and Erica sent me something about, my wish list for the website, and that may be one of them, I think, so maybe possibly
What?
put our approved, budgets on the, is that something you would like
Yes,
to do?
Yeah, I
yes,
think
of
that,
course.
yeah,
Yeah,
that needs
it's
to be
public,
done.
it's
Yeah.
public.
Really?
The whole plan should be there
Public.
too. Yeah, it should be on
So,
there.
yeah, that's something that we
Okay.
could,
Do,
yeah,
yes, sir.
have design group do for
So-
us. Mm-hmm. Do y'all have any further?
Yes, sir. What about, audit? Give us update on that.
Oh, I think it's up to the board at this point, isn't it?
No, I mean,
We are
The
not,
selection,
yeah, so.
no, it's up to us to decide who the
But
company
where
is.
is it? Have we, so we
We
got?
have not chosen
Okay,
an
so
order.
Yeah,
it's in
still
our
in
court.
the-
Yeah.
It's in our
Yeah.
court to take action, which needs to.
Yeah, and this,
So those, this is for the audit, our responses to that.
Yes,
Those, responses were forwarded,
but we're what?
no, forwarded November 3rd to Chairman. He has their, yes, they're in you all's court.
Okay,
He
so-
has them along with the score sheet.
Okay,
And I believe there may have been about 4 responses. That's, I can look at the procurement response.
Which one we talking
But
about?
I was just telling him that I forwarded
Yeah,
those
yeah,
responses
yeah,
to
but
you.
It was 4.
okay. So-
All of them out of city, out of state.
Is that right?
oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And that's a drawback.
that is just.
Process.
Yeah, but we gotta have somebody.
Yeah, we need, and we
I
need
get
to do
I
it,
get
yeah.
that. We need to take.
Because the waiver's only until March of next year.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
and it may
2020.
take them a couple of months
No doubt, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
to get everything. It was something else. I told you guys
About the
that I-
audit?
No, it wasn't an
About-
audit. It was, the, what I passed out today. The org chart, I want you guys to really look at that, because I would like to have that a part of the budget, the final approval. Once you guys look at that and tell me the
Well, we gonna-
structure.
We're gonna beat it up.
Okay.
Yeah, beat
I
it up.
know y'all still
Beat it up.
rough drafting everything, so that's pretty much. But other than that, and we are, cutting, this week, this Friday's our last week to actually do like requisition POs, except for emergencies.
Okay.
I know I was listening to the
Or
residents'
essentials.
complaints, exactly.
Essentials.
Like if it's something, you're dealing with a unit,
Mm-hmm.
we know that has to be addressed, so.
Okay.
So tell your people that.
I think we got our CARES Act stuff today.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Yeah, the supply, yeah.
And the
Cares.
server, did you get a response or a confirmation that it was, I sent an
You
email.
just sent the email back?
I told them
Miss-
ASAP,
Miss
but-
Anthony, don't whoop me, okay?
uh-oh. Oh, man.
No, don't whoop me.
If you want things dropped in a black hole,
Nah,
give it to one of them.
nah,
All right,
this
now,
ha- this- this has to do
With the-
with the vendor. They didn't put the order in. They switched account representatives.
Then why don't you cancel it and let's look somewhere local among somebody who
It's
has
done.
Yeah.
telecommunication.
Mhm.
It's done.
And
What do you
so
mean?
how
You-
long,
you
are-
approved
so
it
are we talking about this year or next year?
No.
Next
But
month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should be here, next month.
Next
And
month.
hopefully paid and everything.
Yeah, I signed it, that's, yeah, right,
And this has been.
It's
going
You
done.
on
signed it and I
since
submitted your
September.
signed
Yeah.
PO to
Okay.
Dale.
Mhm.
okay, we
So-
got it.
But see, this happened with me saying,
Come
where
on.
are we? Where
Tell
are we?
me. That's all right, we know.
Dealing with them
Cause that's a
vendors,
major
okay?
purchase too,
Yep.
so.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, we understand,
Yeah.
but that's why, when folks say, that is my expertise and I need to be able to handle that. Me and Brandy were doing
Come on,
well.
all right.
That dealing with them vendors though.
Yes, sir.
Put it on the vendors.
It was something.
Like I said, if it ain't the vendors, it's COVID.
Nah, this is a vendor because that machine was supposed to be here, okay?
Okay,
But it
Move on.
will be this year.
move
Yeah.
on.
It will be, everything
Because
should
they
be
call
ready
it,
this year.
well, Chairman Lowe, we
Move
never
on.
ordered your machine. But,
But we're good. Y'all got any questions? Any other questions?
now, when are we gonna chop this up?
We're going to talk about it as we beat it up and as we look at it, we'll talk about it.
Cause like I said, I wanna have it,
If to
well, you
go
said
with
the
budget.
16th is the
Yeah.
board, so yeah, the week
You
before
go
that.
ahead, Yeah.
Okay,
The week before that,
all right.
all right? All right, y'all.
All right. All right, Chairman, if you're ready, I'll move on to legal. And just not many updates under legal, but I can add that Laura Johnson, she's still processing the declaration of trust.
Right.
In that first batch, there were a few properties that turned out didn't belong to MHA. And so she's still awaiting a decision from Jessica Lee from the field office as to determine how to handle processing that.
If they don't belong to MHA, who they belong to?
I don't know who have ownership. I really just don't know.
Me personally, that's at politics, okay?
Is that right? Okay.
Jessica Lee,
That
we don't
he trying
own
to sit
them,
up.
why are you making a decision on them? If we don't own them?
That's true. If they belong to somebody else, or if they're not in the batch at all, then they have really.
But they been in the batch.
Well, we
Right.
knew that the batch that was sent over was tainted.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
we've been saying that, we've been
We
saying
knew
that all
that.
along.
We knew that the batch that was originally sent over.
Was
to
not all
what
MHA.
Right.
We knew,
Okay.
we knew. So we know why this is, again, taking so long is because we questioned the list of properties that went initially. Because we could look at it and
Some of
tell
them were
what was
illegal.
ours.
We didn't
and
own them.
What wasn't. And so
Well,
it's
What do you
it's
use
gonna,
to be
it's
illegal?
gonna be over what?
Illegal meaning that she's trying to make a decision based upon a piece of property we don't own.
okay. And it never should have went there.
Never
It
should have
never
went there
to
for the
them.
first
Never
place.
should've went to them. It was tainted.
Okay.
And I don't mind saying this, all Jessica Lee's got to say yea or nay. That's it.
Mhm. And move on.
And move on to them. But I ain't running that.
And in terms of Biddle versus MHA, got an update yesterday, actually, from Chaddock, and he reported that the plaintiff was deposed late October, and that he is currently preparing a motion for summary judgment, and will have a draft prepared before Thanksgiving for staff to review. It has to be filed by December 6th. So,
That's next week.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, week after next, so you'd have to see it next week for it to be filed appropriately.
Now, but there is a trial date set, but see where the summary judgment goes.
Yeah, because next Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Oh.
25th.
It'll be early next week.
Okay.
And no other legal updates. In terms of procurement, Ms. Johnson's not here. However, if there are any questions in the report as it relates to tech, Xerox, Tinmas, I spoke with Kedrick yesterday. He could answer at least some questions as it relates to some of those tech issues.
I'm concerned about the installation of the kiosks. Again, that's CARES Act money, and it has to be spent by 12/31.
Of this year.
Of this year, and the kiosks have been on the agenda for a year.
Good year.
A year. So, I'd like to know where we are with the installation of the kiosks.
And that's a good question. I know on November 29th, we do have a scheduled demonstrate, the 30th,
Oh, this month.
this month, yes, sir, demonstration. But where are we, Kedra? Can you share where we are in terms of the actual installation?
Yeah, I mean, we, basically, we only had 2 vendors that actually, show interest. It's been kind of trying to get those 2 vendors together to get us, because I've heard some feedback that someone wanted to actually see a whole demo of how it's gonna work. So I went on and threw that together. of how the kiosk is gonna work, so that's what he's gonna show on the 30th, before we make our decision. So once that's done, whoever wanna see the demo can see it, but once that's done, it's up to, executive director, whoever, for us to make the decision on, who's gonna
To
go
find.
with.
Okay.
Question. Not more of a question, more of a concern. Me personally, I don't know how my other colleagues feel about it, that duty and responsibility should fall to the IT person.
Yes, it does. We have,
Installation, training, demonstration,
Yeah.
that's why that should fall.
yeah, I'm just hoping that we don't miss out on a great opportunity to minimize paper,
Right.
Yeah.
with getting the kiosks. And again, we've been dancing this issue for over a year. So, certainly, by all means, let's make the date.
Okay.
That money has to be spent.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be allocated. I mean, it can't
It
be
got-
allocated.
it got to be
Yeah, it's got to be
spent.
spent.
It got actually out the door.
Check written,
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
We have to sign the purchase order and
Yeah.
everything, and, all right, so we need, that needs to.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Where are you at?
You'll-
In, I mean, all those, that kiosk is IP enabled, correct?
Yes.
So meaning that if we wanted to do something in our intranet, as far as documents with that kiosk, it's available.
It should be, I think, it may be something they'll have to do on their end.
Right.
It should be.
But it is internet connected.
Yes, yes.
Connected.
It'll
Okay,
be in-
that'll work.
Get her done.
That'll work, that'll work.
Really by next board meeting.
Well, it really,
Yeah.
we
It
need
has
something
to
solid
be.
by next 40.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
the 16th.
That- Okay, noted. I know that December 31 date, it has to be spent.
Yeah.
And I did, they did reach out, HUD did, and I confirmed that all the dollars would be spent. So,
Work
okay.
well.
All right, so for let's see, development,
Well, in our
Oh,
packet, we
okay.
have, the contract law. What
Yes.
is that? What,
the contract log.
yeah.
Okay, so, Ms. Johnson included a log,
This is
and,
all, well, all right. This is every contract that we have. Is that correct?
that, yes, sir.
That's what you asked for.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yes,
asked,
sir.
yeah.
That's what you asked for.
Okay.
All right, where is that?
The MHA
It's,
contract log.
it's on.
It's in a
behind-
purple pocket.
Yeah.
In your binder, it's placed in an actual pocket.
Procurement,
Yeah.
in procurement. Like in procurement, it's a package.
That's yellow.
Here, in your, pocket
Yeah, right
right
behind
here.
finance.
The purple one, you just had it, you just
Yeah.
looking at it. There's the purple one right there.
This,
Oh, it's
No.
on.
Procurement.
had this one.
That one, the one you've been holding the whole time.
But it's
It's not in there, okay, well, here, take mine,
It's
maybe,
in
Oh, no,
procurement.
it's not. Sure not?
maybe it's not, maybe it's not,
Yeah,
here,
they missed,
take
you
mine,
missed.
I told you,
Yeah,
it
you
wasn't
did.
there.
Okay.
take mine.
Oh,
Say, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, y'all made me crazy.
can we talk?
Oh,
I've
sure,
got a couple
sure,
Well, I got to
yes.
see what you're talking about.
You don't have it either?
Nah.
Maybe Lindsay was the
there it is.
preferred.
Yeah. It's in the procurement pocket.
Oh, yes, it is, yes.
It's in the procurement pocket.
Yeah, Ms. Johnson put it together, Jada, for the procurement.
Okay,
Okay, you got, okay, great, great.
it's yellow. not
Okay.
purple.
It's yellow for
It's
for
yellow,
others.
not purple. Yeah, maybe no different grade.
And so it's two of them, right? It's,
Okay, I guess the fact that, the extension is on, one of the things that the
Yeah.
board has always had concerns about is, how people get to an extension without
Yes.
there being any conversation at this level.
Yes.
And that's, it's noted on here that, and we never know when these are being, the quality is being done on it, and this is a compliance issue for us as part of procurement, and this is why we continue to ask for this information. Because the 30-day ticker, and I'm looking at some, the 90-day ticker says that we should actually get a copy of any contract that will be terminating 90 days before it does. There was finally a document that was created that should come to the board on quality of service that according to procurement training, should be coming to the board to tell us what the quality of that service. These extensions should not be happening automatically.
It should come before this body and ask for it.
Question. I'm looking at contract number 1480.
1480, let's see here.
That's BKD.
Audits, yes.
I mean, we knew it ended March of last year,
We brought it to the board.
yeah?
Well, we brought it in December of
Yeah, we put
29.
notice up in
Yeah,
December.
in 2020,
Mm.
and no one responded to, well, no one
They did, yeah.
did what they should have done.
What does the asterisk mean?
Well, see, my thing is renewal option, either you are or you ain't.
Chairman
Okay,
Cleaver.
we do have the 90 days notice for renewal within this packet.
Oh, where?
It begins with contract, MHA contract calendar. So it is in here.
You may take contract
Commissioner
law.
Lindsay, you asked about the asterisk.
Yeah, what does the asterisk mean?
Yeah, I'm seeing that asterisk, and I'm looking for the reference to what she meant. Let me refer to Tamara, she may know.
Yes, you may.
Okay, like 1505 under the calendar.
1208, 1218, 1452.
It's already set up to go into a one-year extension, so it looks. When I look at 1505, the A&E services, the contract,
1505,
Yeah,
A&E.
paranoid, yeah.
the
Cornell
contract is
Cornell.
up July 2020. And it's already set up for an extension to 10/1/2024.
Is that right?
Can you not follow it all the way across? 5
Yeah.
years, 5 years. So, I mean, without the steps being taken, I got an issue with the extension. It looks like our telephone service is out and it's pending any extension or any review.
Well, I was wondering when these A&E services went out.
Well, like I said, they run out in July of 2022, but again, we would never know it because it's set up to roll over into a one-year extension to 10/2024, and
That's illegal.
That's illegal. So we're asking again,
It's not right, yeah. It's,
that
Any extension has to come before the board.
I know, and there should be some type of quality done on those before the extension is ever even considered. So, I still got concerns over the procurement process,
Work on this.
as
Okay.
it follows the CFO.
Okay,
So, the asterisk, we don't know.
we don't know, we have to research it. Yeah.
And when it says pending, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's the question I just asked.
So the pending one, I just saw that, I know, for example, the lawn care one, that was from the last,
Pending. I know she presented resolutions.
But they, I mean, but
They-
they not pending.
Well, there was a question on the resolution based on the fact that it was lawn service bid going out in a season where we weren't using lawn services.
Correct.
But this, or in putting this together, and you're trying to show that these dollars have been allocated for that, is that the way this is working?
And
Okay,
that's the amount
so
of
the reason that they're putting this out here is that, so this money is in the budget already.
We hadn't seen anything on the quality of,
None of, oh, yeah, no, but in doing your budget, you still have to,
You still
yeah.
have to
But-
budget for
but wait a minute,
budget
but-
for lawn care service, you budget.
That doesn't work for auditor BKD, cause BKD ain't the auditor.
But we still have, I mean, you can really only do an estimate of,
Again, no,
as
again,
far as budgeting.
maybe with these asterisks, what she's saying is that something,
It's playing what if.
yes.
I'm gonna set aside this amount of money, but if it don't meet the contractual agreement,
Yeah.
then.
I
I think,
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
It has to come back to
Yeah,
us,
that's that what if scenario.
All of this
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
But you know, this is why we're doing this, cause it hadn't been done this way.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
did have Jada start that, so we can have
So,
this
I got you,
discussion.
all right,
Yeah.
okay.
So we can know exactly what you
Yeah.
guys want, and I told her, 90 days, the board needs to look at all the contracts.
There also is a form that they finally, I think we got it
Yeah,
by way of
quality
some, one of the
analysis.
agencies in Texas.
Right,
Fort Worth.
that 90
There
days
a
is for
form
evaluation
where
of the
that
contract.
Evaluation form
Evaluation,
needs to come here
And I
as well.
think we did, Honey and I, and Kevin, we did,
Well,
so.
What's wrong, Brother Lindsay?
I don't look right, okay.
Well,
Come
we'll,
get it
we'll,
together.
we'll
Yeah,
work
we
through
have
it.
to work, yeah.
We'll work through it. And the reason why is because the board sets the policy of procurement within the agency to run side by side with the CFR that is done by who. So it does concern us when we review policies.
absolutely.
Question.
Yes,
Why is this organizational assessment ending in 2 years? It's at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, organization and operational assessment counseling service.
I don't know why they
That
still
should be
have
on
her
there.
on council.
That shouldn't be on here.
You know, I don't understand why, well,
Well, it says
I don't know
that-
what the contract says.
yeah.
Yeah, it says renewal of 2023,
No.
and I'm saying
That was a
that was only
one-time
supposed
pop.
to be, yeah, a
Yeah,
one-time
one-time
deal.
Yeah, that was for the 2020, what I read.
Can we,
Yeah, we need
can
to-
we review this
Yes.
and
Yeah.
send our questions to you,
Yeah.
James?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can get a better, clearer
This
understanding.
is really just a draft for us to work on and look at. This is, we're gonna take this and then we can work through it and, yeah, all right. Let me ask one more question.
Mr. Dukes.
All right. I ain't gonna answer, I ain't gonna answer.
Go on and answer it.
Yo, your time, Lenny.
Yeah, go on and answer it.
This is just, when it says, for insurance, our property insurance group,
Okay,
and it says, base contract award, no complete letter. What does that mean? Then ask,
what page you on?
this
Brother
is
Lindsay?
on this found, this right here,
Last page.
last page. And then it says, and we don't have any, okay.
Okay.
We'll work through it. All right.
Yeah, send your questions away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
like I said, there's several things that,
We need to look at.
yeah,
What
several
number,
things.
what number you looking at?
I was looking at, the first one. You know, it says housing
That's it.
authority, the property insurance group, but then it says
No
no,
complete letter at
no
the top.
complete letter. And it's an annual thing that, so this goes over every year. You
I
have,
sent the renewal to Erica today,
received it?
after received it.
Yeah, 'cause,
Insurance and liability.
and all of
Look
that.
at, no, look at the 90-day notice. That was back in October. Here it is, November.
So that can't be, this can't be right. Okay.
Like I said,
All right.
and again, it,
Look at it.
But just something for us to, gotcha.
Well, the renewal should be coming up soon. I
Yeah.
mean, we know that. However, we deal with insurance and,
Yeah, it needs to be, you need to,
yeah, we discussed
yeah,
that.
you need to renew that.
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Keep it moving.
Chairman, are you prepared for me to move on to
Move on.
development? Which, actually, I really don't have much to say under development. Of course, we're waiting in process with, the RAD of the Sunset.
Well, I can let the public know with RAD, We have always taken the approach, I'm talking about us collectively as a board, whether we agree or disagree, that certain entities need to come forth in truth in dealing with MHA. There are, at least that I know at a minimum of 2 sticking points that deals with this RAD conversion going forward. Now, people say they want to negotiate. Okay, we've been down that road, you know, blah, 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 blah. However, come time of final signing, okay, if we don't have what is in the best interest of MHA, it ain't gonna get signed.
One of the things that we got dinged in 2019 in the OIG report had to do with us not being at the table during the negotiations. And certainly we had a backbiter in the negotiation with ITEX. That conversation had gone on for many, many months, many, many years. And there were some conversations that we were relating to the situation that never was being dealt with. The fact that the clock ran out on it, because it didn't get to meet our concerns until almost the clock had been run down. Even though the board was relating issues that were never being discussed, or if they were being discussed, they were not being carried with the fervor that was the board's concern. So it has come to us that we need to go back to what the OIG said to this body back in 2019, that we need to be educated about these deals. We need to understand the money, the financing of these deals, and by all means ask questions to clarify the concerns that we have within these deals. So, you know, we may irritate developers because that might not have been the way that it has happened, but based on the past experience of what has taken place and how we were going to be left out in the cold on some of these negotiations, it is to the advantage of board members to understand in depth what's in these deals, voice our concerns, and even stand up to whatever portion that we need to make sure that MHA, the staff, and our residents are taken care of. And that has, we've had some severe learning processes over being at the table and at the deal. We're really co-developers in these deals. And it doesn't make sense that we are not, first of all, being respected at the table because we are the board and the final authority when the deal is signed. And that sometimes in past negotiations, there's been some resentment that we were there and we were answering questions. Then when it got down to us and we still had those questions and the deal got bogged down because we reached impasses, we're saying we've been asking these questions all along. So it's just advantageous to us to try to get as much cleared and certainly we want what Sunset residents want, something better for them to live in. But we want questions asked and we don't want to get to the dance all dressed up to go somewhere and find out that we really ain't got no dance to go to. That ain't what we want to do. So we just need to be clear moving forward. Not trying to force any unnecessary delays, but just being clear that we know what we're about to sign.
Hey, Chairman Lowe?
Yes.
I just want to let you know I'm here.
Yes.
And kind of address any concerns or issues you want. I just wanted to kind of respond to that real quickly and let you know that we're on board with all what was just said. I know there are some outside, I think there's about 3 or 4 sort of sticking points in the debt and equity commitment letters. And we want what you want as well. That these are not issues honestly, that, I don't want to say we don't have a dog in the fight, but these are issues that don't have a significant impact on Gorman's role. These are issues that we want to help get over the hump on with your attorney and the attorneys for Freddie Mac and Bank of America, who are the equity and debt providers here. So I hope folks understand that, we're not trying to move down a path on deal terms that you don't like or you can't get comfortable with. There is a point, however, where there's, they're only going to give in on so many items, and I can't force their hand on those things. And, if you get to a point where you can't get over the hump on certain items that are critical, then maybe you make the decision not to move forward. I mean, that's a decision you have to make. But we will do everything in our power to get you as far along the path in terms of the terms that you want to see into these documents. Keeping in mind that the commitment letters that we're negotiating with Debt and Equity right now are terms that were agreed to and signed off on in the past. And so we're looking to make changes to those. And again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask for what you want, but from Bank of America's perspective, they've been at the table for a very long time. And with the delays from ADFA and so forth, they've kind of stuck with us and held pricing way above market pricing, significantly above market pricing. So just want to be cognizant of that. We are scheduling a call, and I think we're targeting Monday at this point. So we can get you guys and whoever you need at the table, let us know, but get the attorneys together, get you guys at the table, and really talk through and see if there's some common ground on those outstanding issues. Because again, they're not business points that really have a significant impact on our company and our role. So we definitely want you at the table for those items. The other piece that I know we've been going back and forth on is the how the MHA funding gets paid in over the construction period. And again, we put out a flow of funds that had all that funding paid at closing. And as you and I discussed, Chairman Lowe, really that was my direction of my team because I didn't have any other direction from anybody else. If that doesn't work, that's something we should sit down and talk about too. We'll figure out a way to structure whatever does work for you all. Obviously, the lender and the investor are going to want to see a certain amount of money go in at certain trigger points. Some will have to go in at closing, but all of it doesn't have to go in at closing. So. But these are things that we want to have open conversations with you about. So, and I think they're issues that we can resolve fairly quickly here in the next couple of days, actually.
Mr. Swanton, is there any other update? And certainly, I noticed that you and Josh were both on while the residents of Sunset raised their questions. So as part of what their concerns were, how do we remedy some of those things? Some of those I know will fall to MHA to actually remedy. Some of it, I think it needs to be a partnership between MHA and Gorman as we relieve some of the frustration of when things are going to happen by being more educational with them. That was a concern that when the flyers were sent out, everybody didn't get them, and I don't know what happened with that in their last meeting. But there were just several issues of frustration, and I can only imagine that if I'm living somewhere that has not received the attention that I feel that it needs, and I'm being promised something brand spanking new, I want to get to that as soon as possible. So any comments that you have on the concerns of the residents, how we might relieve some of their frustration in conversation as far as commitment, and just any other updates that you have per that project.
Yeah, sure. And I'll have to admit, I did sign on a little bit late, so I missed the Sunset resident comments. I heard the gentleman from the towers speaking, but not the comments prior to that. But I think generally speaking, it's about communication, on our schedule and our timeline. We've had 2 resident meetings. I was part of the first one a couple of months ago. I know flyers were handed out door to door by hand by the management team. And then before the meeting, we had a slightly light response, so we went door to door and tried to get more people out. And I think we had 20 or 30 folks between the 2 meetings a few months ago. We had another meeting just a few weeks ago that Josh was at. And staff had informed us that flyers again were handed out door to door. And I think that took place. So I'm not sure why someone wouldn't have known about the meeting or wasn't informed about the meeting, because I know staff at MHA did deliver those door to door the Monday before the meeting was on Thursday. So, but needless to say, we just got to keep moving the process, get that financing plan uploaded, and get this thing closed. Right now, we're looking at a March closing, but that we've got to sit down and resolve these outstanding issues. We've got to get the financing plan uploaded to keep that clock ticking, and if we don't, it just delays the end game of when we can start. If they're concerned about scope, and we've had our architect and our construction team at all the meetings, and we've had boards with illustrations, answered lots of questions about scope. So if there are individuals that feel sort of left out or misinformed, we see that a lot, quite frankly. It's a challenge to get consistent information out. We're happy to have a Zoom meeting or in-person meetings with one-on-one even, if that's what it takes. So just let us know how we can help get better information more frequently to folks.
Yeah, that major concern was that, this RAD conversion has been going on, and they hear one thing one time, and then they hear something else another time. They just want to know when we gonna turn the dirt over, that's all.
Yeah, I hear you. And we talked about that at our first meeting. I think it was in August, when I was there. I mean, we, started both meetings with a bit of a mea culpa on the fact that, look, I know we've been telling you about this for a long time. None of us can control the state board, and they were really difficult and challenging to get over the hump on cost. And, we got the governor and the mayor involved, and we told the residents this. And so that is what it is, but we've got the clear path now, so we've got to take the ball and move it forward. And that involves getting these debt and equity commitments settled, with Bank of America and Freddie Mac and your team. And we got to get the HUD process going, so.
Did we ever get any additional information on Brownfield or the environmental study?
I hadn't seen it.
No, I think we, Maddie Jones from Coach Rose had requested that you send some information over on that and that we would look into it.
Well, the question was, and I thought it was a question to Zach, as to whether or not we had, because of the age of Sunset, that was there any research done on asbestos or lead paint?
Lead, yeah.
As part of the demolition or the removing of whatever portion of Sunset that you're going to, because we hadn't seen anything.
Right.
And if something had been put out there, we just wanted to review it.
Okay, and I think Kent, our construction project manager, did you get a response on that from him? If not, I will follow up.
No.
Because
Haven't seen anything.
Asbestos, lead paint, and we never really got a final environmental report. So those were some concerns to us.
We can share with you the asbestos investigation report, if you'd like to see that. But the full scope of asbestos abatement is in our hard cost budget, and always has been. And obviously that would be subcontracted out to an abatements contractor to handle as we go through each building. But on the brownfields topic, we have not used brownfields funding, and I thought you had brought that up.
Yes,
Commissioner Anthony, about a possible source of funding.
yes.
Been around for a while.
And that's not something we've used in any of our RAD transactions. But
We're about saving money. So,
No, I'm all for it. Yeah, I know there's brownfield grant funding opportunities through the EPA, and we can look at those. I'm not sure
That's what that
the
is.
timing on those funding sources are, but we can look into that part of it for sure.
well, I had passed on an immediate contact so we could get that information up front pertaining to brownfield locally.
Okay, did you send that to Matty Jones? Because I don't think I
I
saw that.
sent it to everybody on the email.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'll take a look. Okay, well, I'll work with Matty and we'll follow up on the brownfields piece of it. But asbestos is part of the full scope. I'll have Kent send you the report, the asbestos report, and a summary of, you know, the budget estimates and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
So, and then hopefully we'll meet on Monday to talk about the deal terms that you guys have concerns over.
That'll work.
Okay. So that's the latest from our end, and we're close. I mean, we're really close. It's oftentimes when you get on the phone with the attorneys and just explain to them what your concerns are, we can usually find some common ground on those outstanding items. So I'm very hopeful that we'll get there.
That'll work. Got anything else, Mr. Swanson?
I don't think so. I think that's it for my chair.
All righty then.
Thank you, sir. We don't want to neglect Josh on our call, so if there's anything coming from Josh pertaining to the towers or any other thing that you want to share with us, Josh.
No, I just want to reiterate what Brian said in terms of, you know, the next resident meeting we have, if we need to knock on doors, the more we can get those personal lines of communication going and they get to know Gorman and we get to know them and we listen and hear their concerns. I think that certainly goes a long way. I was taking notes at the beginning of this meeting with the concerns of Sunset residents surfaced. And so we certainly want to make sure that we're able to build trust and confidence with them even before closing. So anything, you know, the board thinks we can do to deliver that and start enhancing those lines of communication, we're open to. In terms of the towers, I don't really have any updates. As Mr. Duke said, we did have Little Rock Police Department attend our resident council meeting on Monday, which was very successful. We had a Lieutenant Van Watson and Officer Middleton there just to talk personal safety, address any resident concerns, and just start those lines of communication going. We will be having the same police officers at Cumberland and Jesse Powell in December, and we're hoping that can be potentially at least seasonally, maybe more frequently, where they can attend resident meetings and just start building those relationships and helping talk personal safety. Other than that, we created a maintenance supervisor role, which we just filled about 6 weeks ago, which has really helped enhance our operations, just in terms of managing vendors, negotiating contracts, and ensuring we're sticking to our unit inspection schedules, which are really, really key.
Yes, sir.
So those are the main updates from property management, unless anyone else has any questions or concerns.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Chairman.
I know this may not be on your plate, but has Gorman given any thought to the mixed population at the tower?
Yeah.
In terms of, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I think you're referring, Chairman Lowe, to the new composition of the resident population.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I actually have, and, you know, when I walked the towers the last time I was in town, I was asking the property management team a lot of questions about that, how we got there. You've got to keep in mind that, you know, I wasn't in my role when that project was conceptualized and, you know, closed and all that kind of stuff. So I look back and I think, why did we do this?
Yeah.
And and then I started asking, is there any way to undo it?
Yeah.
And I think the first question we have to answer is everyone on the same page with trying to undo it? And if so, does that apply to all three towers? And then we'll just have to look at the documents in terms of the funding sources that we have. And we would have to get approval from anyone that has funding in the deal, especially competitive funding, Federal Home Loan Bank, ADFA, HUD. Those are the three main players, I think. And see if there are any regulatory restrictions that would prevent us from making that change. And obviously you'd have to do it over time through natural attrition. But I tend to agree. I just don't think it's a good mix. I think several of the towers have more issues than others with the population mix. But if you guys are open to it, I'm happy to start looking at the documents and unpack sort of what we would need to do if we wanted to shift the population back to what it used to be. I can't promise that it's possible, but we're certainly willing to look at it.
There's,
Go ahead.
there's a
Dan.
couple of things that, we've given quite a bit of thought because it is the source of a lot of calls that we as board members receive. And of course, we tell them that's a government issue. But it is a situation that we do get a lot of phone calls, and we've even thought that it may be an issue of our going into partnership with some other entity that is about the business of doing senior housing to create a relationship where some of that transition can take place. It was an issue of negotiation that we questioned when it was being discussed. But we were always told that there was a plan in place to make it work. But seniors of any economic status want some peace and quiet where they live. So that's the biggest issue that we hear coming from our tower residents is the dynamics of the mixed population.
Yeah, and I can tell you, when I talked to my property management team, Josh wasn't in his role at that time either, but our director of operations was not a big fan. And I think the development teams that were involved in the transaction at the time were led by financing and opportunities to get funding and that sort of thing. A lot of different people were involved. You had a different executive director at the agency, people like Andre and Gerald involved. And, so I'm not really sure what led to the ultimate decisions that were made, but I scratched my head as well. I know it's a source of frustration for Josh and his management team as well. So we'll look into it. If you can give me a month or so to kind of unpack the regulatory agreements, we can at least do a legal review of what we think might be possible.
But see, that won't be a problem because, see, Sunset would face the same problem, okay? Now dealing with project-based vouchers,
Yep.
if an individual walks in with a kid, you can't turn them down.
Yeah, the difference with Sunset though is that it's a much more open campus style environment.
And it was always the only.
Where we run into
It's on the family,
challenges,
it's on the family site.
tall buildings and, interior loaded corridors, elevators.
Yeah,
You know,
confined.
those
Yeah, but
towers
sounds
are
like
not
you
really designed with families in mind.
Well, I don't think we're gonna have that problem with Sunset, with it being our only family site. I think that piece, won't be impactful at Sunset versus, say, Paris Towers or Cumberland. So, it's just a dynamic that I know we didn't expect it,
No, we
okay?
didn't.
But it's something we got to deal with.
Well, so, Commissioner Anthony, you mentioned this at the beginning, we've all learned through this. We're in this together. MHA's learned through it, Gorman's learned through it. Brian obviously is gonna look into what we can do to perhaps reverse this. But I can tell you that is, and I would agree, it is the main source of friction. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
If I'm a 70-year-old man who's been living at Fred Paris for 12 years and now these new kids come in, I can tell you it's daily conversations I have with our residents and our team. And it's the one thing, if everyone had a magic wand, it's the one thing they would they would change, and I think rightfully so. With that said, here we are, and we have to do our best to manage through it and to try to build bridges and to keep as much harmony as we possibly can, understanding there is friction. So, you know, there's no answer yet, but I'm glad we're having a
Right.
conversation and that we all kind of agree. My only concern would be if somehow we are able to slowly convert back, which is a big if, we all understand that.
That ain't gonna happen.
Ensuring that we have a wait list that can deliver to stay full. You know, that would be, that's a major concern. So, other than that, though, we are all for having this conversation and exploring ways to go that way, go that route.
Well, Josh, we got faith in you because you evidently have some magic serum after listening to Mr. Duke sing the praises of the staff over there. So we know you have some great, great powers. So we have confidence in your ability to work this situation out.
The whisper.
I just want to bring can you repeat that? I'm going to bring my wife.
We know you got special powers.
You know, we just care. That's it. That's it.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
All right, anything further?
Just to close the loop on Sunset, I want to be clear who should be included in Monday's conversation with the attorneys on the outstanding deal points.
Send an email.
Yeah, I'll send you an email, Mr. Swain.
Okay, that'd be great. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think that's it from us.
All right, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Likewise, thank you all.
Thank you.
All righty. Ms. Anthony.
I'm sorry, Chairman. One thing, did I need to mention the release of the RFQ that went out on the 16th under development?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that was important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that RFQ for developers for another RAF for Madison Heights 1, 2, and Holmes Granite Mountain went out November 16th with a response deadline date of December 9th. So we checked the email daily and we did do the addendum to change the contact because just as sure as that, you know, that release went out, then the contact needed to change because our procurement person also was not going to be available. So that addendum has been uploaded to the website. And so far, we checked for questions and no questions. And, yes.
Sounds good.
Appreciate the follow-up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good follow-up, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We will, as far as the employment committee report, our report folds into the restructuring and the reorganization. And I know we're gonna talk about the organizational structure, but I think it's mindful that we understand that as we talk about organizational restructure, there are several components of the organizational restructure or the cause for an organizational restructure. One is compliance, that is HUD regulated. And we've got compliance issues in at least 2 departments within the agency. The other one is the lack of new income streams. And of course, the board is on record since 2017, talking about being able to continue to do what we do. Now we're faced with Sunset moving away, and that's a real harsh reality of what's about to take place. And the fact that it is an agency issue, not a departmental issue. It is an agency issue, and there are certain myths and miseducations that during this process we must address. For many, many years, people have really made people feel that you are above the structure of MHA, but there's only one name on the building, and that is MHA. So it is something that we will continue to work through as we get into the organizational structure, but we are compelled to look at both compliance as well as revenue streams.
Okay, I defer, due to the kiosk update. Mr. Jackson?
My report follows, with Mr. Dukes and the other residents of Paris Towers was, their complaints. One of them that really concerned me is one that he said about the, receipts for the, rent. My thing is, if one does it, why not all of them do it? Because.
Well, a lot of that has to do with attitude, because.
But if it's my preference that I want to
Yeah,
receive,
that's what I'm saying.
guess
A
what?
lot of
You
that
need
has
to
to do with
provide me
attitude.
a
The
receipt.
reason being is I think that you should get a detailed receipt is because a matter that we had earlier this year where people were charged certain
Amounts of money. Yeah.
amounts of money that you didn't have a receipt, so you couldn't fight it. You didn't know if you owed it or not owed it. And, that's why.
But see, that's a government discussion.
Yeah,
It
it
is,
is.
it's a government discussion, but when we get into tenants' rights,
Right?
Right.
and there is an issue there
Is it issue
of
with
tenants' rights.
Mhm.
And this is what I tried to share with Mr. Duke. It doesn't matter that you drink that Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Every resident is
Everybody's
not
not
on
in
the
that
same
page.
page.
Right, yeah.
And everybody
Not the same.
is not on the same page.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, and yes, you have leadership, but you don't
However,
control the minds of
other
everybody
folks,
else
right.
and coming to a conclusion as to how this is going to be handled. It has to be handled by consent of the entire body.
Right, the
So,
whole body.
you know, and I noticed that he missed all that, but.
Let's see, like, I've talked to residents of Power Towers, and they say they receive their receipts like they supposed to. Come and receive their receipts they supposed to.
But see, that 14-day notice, that's HUD, that's in the
that's HUD.
CFR, okay? If you don't pay your rent by the 5th, you get a notice. You don't pay it by the 14th, you get another notice.
That's understandable.
That's operational.
Yeah, it's operational, it's understandable.
But it's about educating, bringing people along.
Along with you.
Along with you. You just can't dictate to folks. You have to educate. It's a difference between educating and hurting. And when you just say, do as I say do, you're hurting. You know, you're doing them like cattle. You move because I say move. But when you educate them, then
Yeah, offer
they
that
transition on their
explanation.
own.
Yep.
You do better when you know better. Yeah, and that's basically all my report there. We're following through with what we're supposed to have, like the bingo, the movie night. Matter of fact, they just put a notice up in the elevators for volunteers to do the commodities, I think, next week. This week, next week.
Is there anyone doing, listing anyone who may need food boxes? Because we're getting, you know, churches are contacting us, we're getting, you know, some people are just going to deliver meals. Some people are going to deliver boxes next, beginning Monday. So is that, any of that taking place over?
I'm pretty sure it is. I haven't heard anything about it. I know we just got to, everybody just got to completing applications for boxes from St. Francis House, which they do every year. I think the Compassion Center normally brings meals as well. Around the holiday, you can expect a lot of private, like churches, bringing meals as far as, you know, that's concerned. So it's business is running as usual around the holidays like it's doing now. The commodities, the boxes, pretty much everything is still taking place. We did, on a brighter note, our maintenance is coming along.
Great.
That's why I didn't say we needed to do an inspection right away. I wanted to give them a chance because we have been without maintenance for quite a while. I met one of the painters the other day, and he was, you know, painting one of the units, and I talked to Mr. Jesse. He used to be with Gorman. I mean with MHA. He's there too. He's pretty much the main person around just doing all the maintenances. They haven't quite got that many maintenance people, but they're doing what they can do and they're making progress, so. Other than that, that's all I have.
That work. When he say he's going back?
He right there on the
They're
phone.
right there on the phone.
You bypass him, because we're gonna talk about finances here in a minute anyway.
Well, the design group is up there.
I don't think they're here.
Myron, Brittany, any one of y'all up there?
Anyone from design group? I think we just got the folks from section 8.
Okay. Brother Lindsey?
Yes, sir.
Your turn.
Oh, it's my turn, okay, finance. I don't have anything to follow up. But what I do need, I think that needs to happen is that as far as these contracts are concerned, we do need to schedule a time.
I was gonna say, we can meet next month
And then, yeah,
possibly before the board meeting.
yes, to have it sort of lined out. Okay?
Now, you know, the board meeting is on
16.
The 16th.
the next month. Cause the second falls on a Thursday. So the board meeting is actually a week before Christmas
Well,
Eve,
I
right?
got a problem in that, I'm going into the hospital tomorrow. Yeah, my knee replaced. I'm gonna be laid up about 2 weeks. Excellent. Okay, we got it. There you go. I heard that.
Superman, you only gonna take 2 weeks. All righty then.
Well, brother.
That ain't Superman, that's the $6 million man.
Well,
My wife
brother.
always said, God willing, and,
We offer our prayers
Oh,
just
yes,
supporting
sir.
your
Oh, yes,
recovery.
yeah.
All
But we
right.
can do it on the phone, that's great. All right. Okay.
All righty then. Ms. Benedicto,
Yes, Chairman.
new business.
New business, organizational restructure.
And I think that would be the coordination with the
There's been
employment.
a lot of discussion. And one of the things that people might wonder why the board is involved in this. And let me be clear, because the issues about board and our responsibility is often deflated, deflected, confused, and just
Rejected.
plain not understood. The bottom line of the agency is the viability of the agency in keeping the doors open. The other part of that is the fiduciary responsibility. That is that part of our responsibility that says that we cannot let ourselves go under or turn in an unbalanced budget. As I said earlier, one of the things, we got 2 things that we have to talk about. We have to talk about the agency's compliance, whether it's procurement or HCV. And we have to talk about the lack of funding that has just not been a part of leadership's agenda. And that's proven by where we are today.
Right.
As part of our responsibility in monitoring and oversight, anybody want to check us out? A whole book here that you can read about how we work closely with the ED to develop direction and strategy to grow and move the agency in the direction that the agency needs to go in. Coming from where we are with RAD, the traditional housing authority has been going away since before 2018. That waiting for HUD to send the check in the mail has gone away to the point that we're now responsible for more development and creation of our own to meet the needs of the growing population who is in need of housing. So the board is looking at, we also looked at the failures that we had within the agency when it came to issues of compliance. Compliance not only internally, but compliance externally. Had we had what we needed, which was a skilled compliance officer, we would not be dealing with the issue that we're dealing with, even with Madison Heights and Granite Mountain. The compliance manager is a long-time position that went away, I guess, after I came here, because it kept us in line. And since the going away of the compliance officer, to my knowledge, we've had at least 3, well, more than that. When I came on board after the compliance officer went away, we had 3 poor audits that dealt with even the inspection schedule. We had a compliance review that we failed, and we even were slated as a trouble agency because we were out of compliance all the way across the board. And we've been living with a situation of being out of compliance, especially with the number of people that we have in Section 8. We're under compliance review right now from a higher level of the hood structure. Ms. Benedicto, what is the number of folk that we're out of compliance in that agency, or that program of the agency?
So at present, there are 12 individuals, well, one is an inspector. And Ms. Johnson, you could correct me if I'm wrong, in your department, in terms of the housing specialist. Is that correct? In terms of your number of housing specialists?
Right, yes.
12.
No.
11.
One is an inspector, so it's 11.
Does that include the 3 at the front desk?
Those folks report to.
Right, but I'm talking about how they're reported in the system.
So, Ms. Johnson, in that number of 11 for the housing specialist, the front desk staff, are they included in that total?
No, that's all,
Okay.
temp
That's all what?
services, temp services at the front.
Yeah, they are temp services, yeah, so
Just
they,
wanted to be clear.
Okay. Yeah, and team, one of the things that we looked at as we looked at the fiduciary responsibility, which is the budget, and how we operated, we abused the issue of temps. We've had temps that have been on staff for over a year. That's not a temp.
yeah.
That's not a temp. By definition, that's not a temp.
That's nice.
But we've had temporary employees, and when, a part of our review even looked at the money that was spent doing the CARES Act.
Right.
We spent a great deal of shoulda stayed in-house money in the CARES Act. So again, reviewing and looking at how we got here from a perspective of fiduciary responsibility, we have abused the issue of hiring temps. When basically, if that was a qualified individual, and we pay temps, really, I think almost at a higher rate, Tam, than we do.
Better.
And that's just,
Yeah.
that's just.
The agencies want to make their money.
Yeah, cause you pay the agency overage for the salary of that individual that we're bringing in. So we've abused that one.
And you're talking about that issue of compliance. There's also the issue of labor laws that all apply to organizations. So it's not just HUD that we're.
Yeah, we're
that
violating a
tackling,
bunch
but
of
there's also the labor issue. So, that's something that has to be addressed, it needs to be addressed.
Well, we're gonna get tagged again, because again, we're right under, and there are penalties that come to the agency when we are out of compliance.
With labor, that's right.
So, again.
Issues, FMLA, all of those sort of things are things that we have to be cognizant of in running a business, an
Absolutely.
organization.
So those are the kinds of things that have raised our consciousness to see how do we divert not having a balanced budget and how do,
Staying out of trouble. Yes, sir.
you know, we have enough trouble that
Yes,
other
sir.
people create for us that we don't need to get into trouble because we don't do our due diligence. But that's the beginning of where we have to look. Where are the folk in this agency? And are they temporaries and where are we, how much are we out of compliance? How do you,
Avoid.
is the remedy moving folk who are out of compliance into position that would give them the position of someone who is temporary, or just what manner that we do? And how do we get to a structure within the organization that maneuvers us where we need to go? Again, from the employment and board standpoint of monitoring and giving oversight, setting directions and strategies for the agency, we have to relook at the design of what we're doing here and reinvent ourselves accordingly. One of the things that has been on our plate is the rebranding of the agency, which really goes along quite well with what we are planning to do as far as the rebuilding of the agency. So one of the recommendations that came out of the negotiations that we want to see how it fits into, again, correcting the compliance issue is number one. Correcting the issue of temporaries was number two. Realigning the internal workings of the agency to meet the movement of the agency, and bringing back the compliance manager, because we are too many places within the agency out of compliance. One of the other issues of discussion was HR and legal. Woo, we could get into trouble. As we visited with the ED, there are some serious issues in our HR department that she brought to the table. But it's also legal issues. It's not just how we hire and pay, it's how do we run the day-to-day operations and make sure we're doing it in a legal manner. So that was something else that is being looked at as part of the reinventing or restructuring. We also noticed that in finance, there's been a lot of titles that, again, we abuse the issue of temporaries when they're dealing with our money. With the loss of Mr. Delaney, Tam moved up, Alton moved up. We lost a temporary, but it left two positions of finance, accounts payable, and what was the other one? Grants, HCV accounting, that were left unavailable. So part of that, the restructure has to go back and revisit that as a part of us just doing things the right way internally. Tell me what else we talked about.
Money, lack thereof.
But before you can address anything else legally, you have to address temps and you have to address compliance issues. Before you can do anything else, anywhere else, as far as downsizing or we have to address the issue of compliance. So, we're going to defer that to the ED, and how we get there. Because that's an internal working. And as the board, we're still working with her and with finance to get to a point where we have a true hammered out organizational structure of how we move forward. And this is tedious work. Could it have been avoided? Yes, sir, it could have. And that's the reality that we as the board have to understand, that this could have been avoided. The board has talked in depth, held group meetings, have said for years that without new income streams, in fact, the chairman said in May, that we would be facing end of the year cuts and movement if we did not address the issue
Something.
of new income streams.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue of compliance. So those are the major pieces that we're talking about. And that, I guess, kind of meets the issue of the discussion of the budget as well, as to where we are. And again, we're working with the leadership, and in the capacity of fiduciary responsibility, in case anybody wants to go and scream to anybody that will listen, that we're interfering with the day-to-day operations. No, we're doing the
Hey,
job.
Hold up that Bible over there.
That what?
Hold up that Bible over there.
Oh, this right here?
Uh-uh.
No.
Oh,
you're
that's
talking-
right.
You're referring to.
Yeah, he's returned to anything
There
that
it
is
is,
done.
yeah,
is
yeah.
done
You know,
Yeah,
according to
yeah,
will.
hold up that Bible right
I
there.
want folk to know,
That's what you was talking,
Yeah,
yeah.
hold up that Bible right there.
I want folk to know, because we get hit with so much insanity about what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. Your board is trained and certified just like members of staff. And two of us have did you get your?
Yes, sir.
Three, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
3 of us have our national certification
Yes,
as
sir.
board members, commissioners. So, we're not just pulling stuff out of our hat. We're not just imagining. We're talking about due diligence that is given to us as the authority of HUD, to work directly with the ED in getting us where we need to go. So, don't want to think, don't want to pick up the paper tomorrow and say, well, there go that board again. They're interfering with the day-to-day operations. No, your board is going to say publicly
Yep.
that your board is doing the job that they are authorized to do by HUD.
Sworn in oath to do.
Sworn, yeah, we're not hired, we're sworn in. So that's where we're moving forward. We hope to introduce the entire package in our December meeting. We don't want to keep anybody on needles and pins, but I think we're clear that people know where they stand in the issues of basically knowing that there's some compliance issues here that has to be dealt with, and we're going to defer that back to the ED, and knowing that we have had a major loss of revenue. We estimate with the going away of the towers that we lost more than $300,000 a year, more like $400,000 a year. With the loss of Sunset, we don't even, do we have an estimate of how much money the agency is losing with the movement of Sunset to Red?
That's probably about maybe 40 or 50,000. It's not much.
Are you sure?
No, it's
It's not much at all, because you're talking 70 units.
74.
74 units.
Yeah,
74.
something like that.
Mhm.
It's not much.
And then there's possibility, well, y'all have lost, Madison Heights, that's already gone. So, it's an issue of what people have to do when money get low. You can't buy at the rate you used to buy, until you get some more money. But that's pretty much where we are. We'll continue to work with the ED and with finance to, continue to do our due diligence to, again, create the viability of the agency to maintain its status moving forward.
That's a question.
No.
What's the exact timeline for the towers
To come back.
to come back? Is it 4, is it 3?
Well, we talked, it
Well,
was 5 first.
Right, yeah, that's a
And-
negotiation
But that,
piece.
yeah, that's another, but we can get it back in 10,
Yeah.
but we've only been into it since 2018, 2019.
No, 2018.
No, they did not complete. You have to.
Oh, you had to, when they
You has to
complete.
complete. So
Yeah,
it wasn't.
2, they were
complete.
late taking over anyway.
Well, they didn't complete until 2019.
Right.
So the soonest is
18 to 22 months,
is what?
construction, tentative construction.
Okay. So, I mean, these deals take a
Your
while.
question was-
Cumberland was, what, they did that in
15 months.
15 months?
Yeah, the RAD deal took 15 months, so I mean, we got them
Yeah,
back.
but Power was the last one that.
Yeah,
They were checking the
Yeah,
alarms
because
to
of the
finish.
stucco, the outside exterior.
Mhm.
But that's where we are. Like I said, we will continue to hammer, you know, I understand why the city goes through so much of starting in the summer months to try to hammer out a budget. This is difficult. This is very difficult because we know that we should be a family in here, and this falls to all of us, whatever changes will take place.
But it's not a haphazard process.
No, sir,
It's something
cannot
that
be,
is-
cannot
yeah.
be, cannot
It
be.
never has been.
Yeah.
But it is governed by HUD because we
By our
follow,
policy,
and
by
by HUD.
HUD's personal policy, and by the books.
We cannot,
Everything is-
we cannot think that we can administer rules of compliance to
Without-
our tenants and not accept rules of compliance for staff when they both come from the
Agency,
same
yeah.
place.
Well, back in
It's an agency.
2014, and Tam could probably verify this for me. See, I think we had a compliance supervisor.
Yeah,
As well as 2 compliance officers, okay?
Yeah.
It's back
Well-
in 2014.
well, certainly during this thing of the property,
Mm-hmm.
we're finding out that external piece
Right.
that should have come
Should've
through,
came
come
along. Right.
that same agency
Yeah.
would have saved us a lot of grief. And
I
it
read
has
my
to be,
write-ups.
yeah, a lot of grief, because like we're talking about inspections now,
Mm.
we would have had somebody doing inspections and actually going in to see if they're down the line, compliance. But, Erica, if you don't have anything else?
No, as you said, compliance is certainly at the fore, to be in compliance with HUD regulations, and certainly to deal with compliance and the labor laws around temps and the overutilization of them for too long, considering they are temps. So if they should be in full-time positions, that's one thing, but to use temps,
Continually
Yeah.
in
That's
the
another.
same capacity.
Yeah.
Is a violation.
I thought some people were permanent,
They,
they
that's,
temps.
yeah.
yeah.
How many
yeah.
temps do we have total? Or do we just go by what section they in?
Mm-mm.
We've got 2 at the front desk, we've got 1 up in finance.
So so now we have 3. We did have 2 at the front desk, at first, you're absolutely right. Well, we did just more recently go down 1. So we've got a total of 3 in this building. We have 1 at Sunset. Is that correct, Tamara? 2 at Sunset, that's right. So we have, yeah.
Of course, they will either be there in that capacity, because Sunset is going away.
Yeah, less than 6
Yeah.
months,
So that's not gonna fall
basically.
under your,
Yeah.
We don't know, we're going through it.
Yeah, and not to say we don't need to, because of the volume of contacts and calls at this front desk.
Right.
It's pretty high, so.
Right.
Oh, yes, sir. We
And deal with the impact of kiosks.
That's gonna alleviate, should.
Well, the
Theoretically.
kiosk should be alleviate
Theoretically,
some of them phone calls.
Yeah.
It should.
People are calling in about wait lists, people are calling in about a
Yeah,
lot of things that they could get more readily by just
Yes, sir.
looking or coming into the
Frequently
kiosk.
asked
the
questions.
majority, we're doing accounts,
Mhm.
just getting numbers and logging phone calls and identifying the nature of the call, tallying, and the majority is wait list.
wait list.
And, and this is something I've even sent it on my wish list, over to, Design Group. But, just reducing calls around wait lists will certainly minimize the phone traffic. That's the majority. And so I looked at other, public housing agencies, and they actually offer that on their website, some of them. And so-
Yeah,
The wait list,
Yeah,
right, yes,
direct-
sir.
See,
Uh-huh.
Director Benedicto
What's that?
had that conversation, I think, when Commissioner Anthony came on board. If a person was thinking technically right, all they need to do would be put in their customer number, and they can see where they are. Okay, that's it. Just that simple, the program.
Well, I think that people, sometimes when we're dealing with people who've been in housing for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
they forget about the business concept
Of it,
of doing business,
Yeah.
regardless to what the topic is.
Mm-hmm.
And when we as, they perceive us as lay people, make a recommendation, it's easily disregarded because we don't
You're
do
not
housing.
housing.
We don't know nothing about housing. But business is one of those templates you can put over any
If you
job
know, that's-
and tweak it to do what it needs to
Fit
do.
that organization.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that suggestion has been made several times over. Even if you don't wanna use the housing number, use the last 40 social, like VA do. So
And
just
everything
like
you
that,
got,
we're
everything
behind
you want.
times. We're behind times with technology, and we've known that for some years. So all of that is something to be considered as we move the agency forward.
Yeah, there's quite a few calls come in, people, because this is really important, they want to verify what address is on file for them. They want to make sure that it's accurate. As you know, that's how they're notified, from Section 8. They get notifications. If they don't get their mail, they can very easily lose their slot. Now, it's happened.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, so anyway. But back to as Commissioner Anthony was saying, compliance is certainly at the fore. No organization, agency, company, period, should be comfortable ever being out of compliance. It's something to be responsive to, and so we'll have to address it. It has to be addressed.
And just as a footnote, this is not, this restructuring is not brand new.
Nope.
This was started last year and somewhere went off the track. But it was started last year when we had the assessment made.
Yeah.
And we looked at qualifications and how do we, again, we were concerned then, how do you move the agency forward? So the assessment piece gave us a roadmap, the things that needed to be corrected. That was a money saver back then. And again, the assessment went off the track seriously. Because it was like, rather than following the blueprint, we decided to erase it. So, again, I don't want anybody to think that this is brand new. It is absolutely not. All right, so resolutions.
Resolutions. Okay, so, many of these you have already received in advance. Adopting updates to the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, that's Resolution 6789. And there is, Ms. Johnson provided the notice for that resolution, to actually attach to that resolution. And it's at your table, and it's like that. The other resolution, oh, you know what? I actually should have brought this up, or introduced it during procurement, and it would have went along with Commissioner Lindsay's question under pending, but this was shared with me pretty recently that every year MHA employees, this is the time of year for them to look at dental insurance, and so the consultant that does that work, we've looked at several providers, and Delta Dental is what the MHA employees have right now. And even there will be an increase, but even with the 12% increase, it is still the best. It is still the best option, and cheaper than the others. And so there is a sheet, Monique can include what that price would be. And it wasn't, Chairman, I shared it with you.
Yeah, it was-
Is it the current rate?
Yeah,
The current rate
there you go.
and renewal rate?
12%.
And so this resolution reads, authorizing the Housing Authority of the City of Little Rock doing business as Metropolitan Housing Alliance to enter a contractual agreement to renew employee Delta Dental Insurance for year 2022.
When that much of an increase.
12%.
Yeah.
It's not, let me ask a question here. So why are the resolutions, why aren't they numerical? This is resolution 6789 for the voucher.
Because we had discussed it before. The
Table it.
67,
And in the
89.
meantime, we passed some other resolutions.
Yes.
Yes, sir, because it needed to have this notice attached.
Okay.
Be consistent.
All right,
Bring it back up.
yeah.
Yes, sir. And really, to to answer, to really kind of get in front of a question about it being numerical, so this was 6793, the one for Delta Dental Insurance. Vision is also up, and there was some discussion about, just in the office, if resolutions have been done in the past for vision, employees pay 100%, I understand, for vision. So that's why we pulled the 6794 out. Okay, so we're going to now resolution 6795, and that's adopting authorization of 2022 payment standards for housing choice vouchers. This is what Ms. Johnson shared earlier, and the attachments that will be referred to will be attached in that resolution, should the board pass it. The next one is adopting authorization of 2022 utility allowances for housing choice voucher. And again, she has provided supporting documentation for that resolution as well. And finally, that's resolution 6796, by the way. And finally, adopting an internal promotion policy, that's resolution 6798. And that was on the previous,
Agenda, we tabled it.
yes, and so it was tabled. So you've seen it before, if it's kind of ringing a bell.
Mr. Chairman?
All right.
I would ask, place a motion on the floor that we look at them collectively rather than individually. Can I get a second to my motion?
So move that. We move for the adoption of resolution 6789, 6793, 6795, 6796, and 6798. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All 5 resolutions are adopted. Is there an executive session?
Motion for an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we go into executive session to discuss